it's taken a long time to get to this position. It's 10 years, so it's sort of incremental step by step. It was one country first, then it was two countries, and now, it's a few more. I get a lot of energy from going to other countries and learning about them, as I like to explore and understand new places. And I think that gives me the energy to go and do those things. Back then, it was more, let's experiment, let's try things. That was the plan, but the plan was to experiment. And we executed those. So if I was to go back, I think some of those words were present. So the learning, the planning, I don't know if routine was in those very early days. We were stopping and starting and, pushing where and pulling back. So I'd say a lot more pivoting. I think that was more important back then. And being okay with failing, making mistakes. That didn't work. Okay, cool. Next, let's go on to the next one. I would love to be able to say at the very start, we knew and had a vision of what we wanted to create and how we were going to do it, but we just didn't. Coming back, I guess, reflecting more on the actual, what we've done, what was working, very incrementally over time. That's how that started. I think each of those steps, but yes, I think there was a plan. I think planning was definitely big. But in the beginning, I think the degree of pivoting and experimenting and trying things was much higher than necessarily today, where, that's where Find Adventures comes in. Find Adventures is more that area now where we try things and we experiment with stuff. And we still do that, right? We still incrementally improve things and try things in Finder. It's just done in a much more structured manner. Now, whether it's up or down, like a positive or a negative result, I think it's great. And the next thing I always look for is, what is the opportunity that this result now creates? There's always some, I think, action that you can positively take, whether the result is positive or negative, all the time. That's the way I sort of interpret those things. Once you get a positive result, the other thing I'll try and do is establish a process and a system and a way to report on that so that it goes from being, like you said, a one-off to becoming a routine. And they're the things I look for. Like, is this result evergreen? Is it so able to be turned, like you said, into a routine or a process? Because if it is, we turn it into a blueprint and we share that around the world. The other thing we're very careful of is we don't like to have like a headquarters. We want it to be like a decentralized organization as best we possibly can, so everyone feels included. I believe if you take care of people and you recruit great people who have been inspired and got the resources, create a great company, and a great company takes care of its customers. And that's when the profits and the revenues come from. So it all starts from the people. I think my superpower is to bring energy to people, to inspire and challenge people with love as well, but to do great things. If we were to press the special button, if we're playing a computer game and I press my special button, I think people get an extra boost of energy. They perform just a little bit better. They strive for a bit more. And when they turn back over the last 6 months, they go, I don't think I've ever achieved or grown that much in my life. It's a mandatory as a founder of a company that you need to grow with the organization. And I've had so many roles that I've had in the company and been fired from continuously. That's an ego challenge, right? It's constantly challenging you to reinvent yourself and grow. I didn't wake up in the morning and become a good co-CEO of a large enterprise. I'm not necessarily sure that I'm the best manager in a big group, and that's where I think the other leaders at Finder handle. I sort of identified that my strengths, this is an area of personal growth, right? That understanding of myself, that I'm better in smaller teams with very distinct, specific groups of people that I think have a very strong mission, but the actual path to get there is unclear. And even the mission is a little foggy as well. That's where I'm thrive. That's where my curiosity kicks in. But I think, what's the learning from that is, where are you your best? That's the growth. That's the area. Where are you 10x better? Where do you feel in flow? I think that's sort of what I've learned over time. I read Jeff Bezos' book, The Everything Store. And one of the things that's been really struck, it really profoundly has affected me and what I've been sort of looking at today. And over the last, I'd say, a good 3 years at Finder, imagine we've been doing this comparing credit cards for 10 years. 10 years, Clive. That's the same thing, over and over and over and over again. That's quite a repetitive thing. And credit cards haven't really changed that much. They're the same as they were 10 years ago, pretty much. But the idea then, when I heard that, is to bring in the customer into the room, I thought, okay, what are they trying to do? Why is this problem so hard? Well, you've got to go to Google, and then you've got to go to Finder, and then you've got to go and put all your details in and those kind of things. And I thought, wow, there's just a big process, right? So people go, oh, I can't really be bothered. That's the biggest issue facing our business. I had some lunches with customers and I asked them, what do you think about comparing? Say, I'm not really into it. I was like, why not? It's like, I just can't be bothered. And I'm like, that's fair. You know what I mean? Like, that's actually fair. I get that. By bringing the customer in the room and just asking that biggest problem, you really look at the problem that's inhibiting your consumption. That's where the idea of this app came from. That insight doesn't just come from day to day doing the same thing. It's like you've got to go and step back, bring the customer back into the room and ask them what's their problem with this, but translating that to going, okay, how are we going to solve that? How are we going to take responsibility for the problem the customer is having in order to give them a better service? One of the things facing most people who either want to start a business or are in business, they sort of hit this point, and I know it intimately, you're almost about to give up. I just want to share with you right now and empathize, because I've been dealt tough cards as well, all sorts of problems that are underneath that surface that we've had to go and deal with. I just want to ask you right now, look inside yourself and you say, can I just be a little more courageous? I just wonder if there's anyone out there who's just got a bit of courage left to go and do what you need to go and do. You know what you need to go and do. And I know all after everything you've been through, after all the challenges you're facing, after everything that's affecting you right now, have some courage, not only in what you're doing, but in yourself. Because it's not about the cards that you're dealt, it's how you play them.